How you doing? Jason with Totech here. Today, I want to go over the hammer. A lot of people have problems with this thing, and I know out of most of them that I go to the stores and talk to, this is their biggest problem. They had a lot of these pulled back. Like I said, when I bought this, I was under the assumption I was buying a real hammer. I'm pretty sure I got a knockoff. Alright, that's why I don't buy off people no more. Fuck that. Considering spend a couple $100s on a hammer, a couple days later you see them in the damn Vapor Station knockoffs for like 50 bucks. Yeah, so I pretty well got fucked. You know, there's some people say it's real because of the copper inserts, but guess what? Vapor Station hammers got it too. Now, biggest problem with these was voltage drop. Everybody was getting voltage drop. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to take this baby down and go through piece by piece. Oops. First off, we got the button. The button was an issue. The biggest issue with the button is the screw. Keeps coming loose. Tighten that baby down. Keep that baby tight. And the way you can tell if it's coming loose, you're going to see your button starting to sit sideways. See how that's nice and straight? I can't even hold the damn thing. See how it's nice and straight? That means that button is tight. Good shape. It's very rare for me to lock my hammer. It's got a locking ring. I usually just keep that turned down. The spring in that seems to be holding up alright. I have not had an issue with that spring. It's doing good. So don't usually have to worry too much about that. Now let's get to the inside. Here is where the problem lies. If you look at just the total teardown, all you see is you got your two pieces. You got your brass insert, got your vent holes in the end. Just that's all that is. Your battery goes in. This is what holds your battery. That's where your juice comes from. On the top, screws down. This mechanism here, where you put your tank, your 510 thread, is where the problem lies. Right there. Once you take this apart, let me pull her down here. Alright, once you take this apart, what I did, it comes with a spring inside, which I'm having a hard time getting out what I did here. But it comes with a spring that sits between these two parts. That part and this part right here. There's a spring goes in there. What I did is I took a piece of solid copper wire, made for ground wire for outside, and I cut it at about the right size of what the average tank would be. That way we're just doing away with the spring and doing a copper. What it does is once you slide it down in here, which is kind of tough to get in by hand, you see it pushes against that bottom right there. Plus this size here, I'm guessing that looks like a 12 gauge, not a 10 gauge but a 12 gauge. Perfectly fits in the other side. Take your spring out. You don't want your spring no more. What that does is that makes this floating. It makes this whole end floating. So as you put a tank on there, it will actually push that down and connect it against this inside the mod, and it'll give you a solid connection. With the spring, it would let you get this seamlessly all the way down to where you can't see in the middle, but it wasn't pushing no pressure on this. You were firing through your spring, and that spring was probably like 18 gauge, 20 gauge spring. So that's like dropping your wire down to like an 18. Actually, I would even say less. It could have been like a 25 gauge spring. You ain't gonna get no, secure connection. That was the biggest problem with this. Once you cut that little piece of wire, you got to keep cutting it down and slide it in there, piece her back together. Nice and quick. Like I said, simple design on this thing. Mainly made for looks. Once you crank that down, one way I was doing it was I was cranking that down and leaving that open just a little bit. So once I put my mod on here, I would tighten it down, and then I would push it all the way in. Once you get to that point, you got a solid connection. Put your battery back on, and you're golden. That simple. That's it. Problem solved. No more voltage drop. And guess what? You're happy with your hammer. Alright, there's the hammer fix for you. I'll see you on the flip side.